Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a great weekend. I wanted to share a conversation that I had just recently with a doctor about a topic that I thought was interesting. This guy, he's been in practice for many years, has a lot of experience, great communicator, really understands how people think, and has done well and been successful in difficult markets. But very different than my history, my background, and we have two really different opinions. And we had this conversation yesterday, and I felt like it was worth sharing some of the pearls from this, and at least the world according to me, as far as what I think really is most, honest, transparent, and people will pick up on, and at least for me is most just comes natural and feels most joyous in practice. And what is it? It is that, just backing up for a second, there's lots of these marketing groups, practice management groups, all these different groups out here that teach something that I don't completely disagree with, but I do not agree with. And here's what they say. They say it doesn't matter what your product is, it doesn't matter what you have to offer, it just matters that you have a good sales process and you have a good communication. And if you do that, you can sell anything to anyone, and that's all that matters. There's a little bit of truth to that. There's a little bit of truth in that, yes, you have to attract people, speak to their emotions, really get them to buy something that they want, and then really then see that they need it afterwards. You need to speak to them with emotion and then back it up with fact. Like, I've heard all that, I get all that. But here's where there's a difference that a lot of these marketing groups do not focus on because of who they're trying to attract and who they're speaking to. A lot of these chiropractic marketing groups or practice management groups, they are trying to speak to the general chiropractic profession. Now, I would consider move well doctors not part of the general chiropractic profession. I would consider someone who puts time and energy into having excellent systems, excellent clinical expertise, and really has things put together well, that they are different than the standard chiropractor that is trying to piece all the little Johnny-come-lately techniques of whatever thing that weekend is cool. Like, ooh, spinal decompression, let's do that. Ooh, let's play laser tag, let's do that. And all these other little techniques that might seem appealing on the outside because they sound different or they have some kind of sparkly magic to it. Not to say that I'm against spinal decompression or laser. I think there's a time and a place for it. But I'm just saying, you guys and gals probably all know those practitioners, or maybe you've been in this position yourself where you see this shiny new object and you jump on it and you're like, ooh, that's something I'm going to add, but you don't really understand how that fits into the big picture of your clinical model, okay? And maybe this isn't you. Maybe this is how you're also seeing fellow chiropractors and you're saying, man, wish we could take them and shake them a little bit and give them a little bit more clarity. But the problem is they've been taught this by the practice management groups. They've been taught this because they've had a lack of clinical excellence from day one. They're confused how to take care of a patient. They doubt what they learn as being efficient or efficacious. They then have some BS research study that comes out that was done with a bunch of chiropractic students with a sample size of 10. And because that shows that adjusting the sacroiliac joint wasn't effective, now they're going to abandon, 50, 90 years of clinical excellence based on analysis of something such as SI joint. It's granted, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but it's that ultimately the main message I want to get across is that these marketing groups prey on chiropractors who do not lead with clinical excellence. They lead with, well, I've learned some stuff, I have my bag of tricks, but I'm just like every other chiropractor down the street. So how do I differentiate myself? Oh, I have to have better sales tactics. And then what they do is they focus on the sales thing. They focus on closing. They focus on, I'm going to have a 2-day process and have a 90% close rate, 95%, whatever it is. I'm not saying that it's bad to invest time and energy in communication and processes so you can take your product that is so excellent and get out to the masses. But that's just it. Is your product all that excellent? That's my question. Is your product unique, different, and better than what everyone else out there has? And can the public see that? Here's where I've always led from, because this is just my personality, my mindset. You know, I got into chiropractic school, was exposed to Gonstead, was hardcore into Gonstead. You know, I've expanded my clinical reach now, but I was 1,000% in with Gonstead, and I was passionate knowing that I was going to do the absolute best for the public because I was a Gonstead practitioner. I invested the time and the energy, and I knew my stuff, and I freaking studied it. I built adjusting dummies. I went through and taught the work throughout chiropractic school, traveled to all these seminars. I put 1,000% effort into really owning this thing. So when I spoke to someone, that came across. The passion came across. They chose me as a leader, I think, immediately. And at that point, the thing that I led with was clinical excellence, certainty, but I actually had something to back it up with. It wasn't just a big fluff. You know, it was like if they came in, I had protocols, I had steps that I took them through, and I got great results. You could argue, well, the results were a placebo because the person trusted you and how they felt. Let's put all that aside for a second and just pretend that what we do clinically actually matters, which I would say it does. If you have that clinical excellence and that's what you start with, that's what you should communicate. If you go and do a screening, your screening should not be the generic garbage that everyone else spews out there. You should talk specifics about what your expertise is in. Yes, you should talk to the brain. You should talk about what and how and why. But understand, this isn't getting away from what every other marketing person and psychologically driven communicator talks about. You are speaking to the person's emotions because you are delivering certainty, and you are also right up front showing, hey, I'm different. I'm different, and here's why I'm different. It gets their attention. Okay? So my vote, and this is how the conversation went, my vote is that 100% of the time, if you lead with, here's what we do that's different, here's why you need this, and here's how this can change your life. And that's what it is. And then the offer is like, at the end of that, of course, like if they're interested, if it resonated with them, the offer is come and do X, Y, Z, but you don't undermine, you don't give away what you do, because if you just talked about how important it is what you do, you should be charging for it and people should want to pay for it. You funnel out tire kickers and people who are not your target audience at the initial communication, at the initial screening, health talk, event, whatever it is. That's where you funnel them out. So by the time they come through your door, you have a very high level of probability that person knows they're there for a complete workup. They know they're going to go through a consultation, an exam. If you practice like we do, if we find something on an exam, we're taking x-ray, we're doing digital postural assessment. They know that. And they're not just doing that so they can say, cool, I got all my free stuff. They're doing it because they have a drive to figure out what's wrong with them, because they want what you have and they've chosen you as a leader. So that's very different than how all the marketing stuff last 20 years positions this. And there's some avid marketers that are going to disagree with what I'm saying. And here's what I'd say to you. I'd say, yes, doing kind of generic style marketing with the best practices, yeah, it'll work. But guess what it'll do? It'll drive a lot of people into the clinic that want some kind of deal, that got tricked, so to speak, on the sales process. And then they come in and the entire process is pushing a boulder uphill to get them to actually commit to care, versus flipping the switch. And when people come in, you don't need them. I mean, yes, we technically do if we want to run a business, right? But we don't need them, because the thing that we worked on, the thing that we've mastered as chiropractors, we are masters of this gem, this thing that could transform their life, their family, their entire circle of influence. if you can convey that and they can see that, they're going to want it. And if they can feel that when you do a workup, when you do a health talk, when you do whatever, I'm not saying to come from a cocky, condescending standpoint. I'm saying come from a place of certainty where they can feel it, they can see it, but it's certainty, but it's also being very genuine. And when they see that, they're going to want what you have versus you feeling like you have to sell it. Okay? Man, I loathe if I feel like I come across to someone with like a sense of desperation. Okay? And some of us in practice, we have our ups and downs in practice where, man, if we have 5 new patients that week, we really need those 5 people to get started for us to make things work. But you can't go in with that mindset, because if you go into the consultation room with that mindset, you go into the health talk with that mindset, if that is even 1% of what you're thinking of, I hope this person starts. Not all of them, but they're going to pick up on it. They're going to feel it. You're going to speak differently, and it's just not going to impact the same way. So, in summary, I would say up your clinical game first, up your clinical excellence, understand what you do, understand why it's so important, and be a master at it. I think that is important before you understand how to do marketing and sales processes and all this. Be a freaking master at your product. Don't be a charlatan. Deliver, over-deliver with what you're talking about so that patients can see and experience, see and experience that what you have to offer is actually going to work. It's going to work, and it's going to be worth their while, and they'd be a fool to not take advantage of it. That's the main message I want to throw out there. Enjoy your weekend. If you liked this style of conversation, comment. Say something below. Share it with someone. Okay? These types of things are woven into our clinical approach of functional movement, of how to add corrective exercise to a chiropractic practice. I cover 4 elements of how to do this successfully in a clinic, how to add a exercise department in our most recent masterclass. I went through a 90-minute masterclass. We broke up the masterclass into a couple pieces. We built a really cool thing online so that you can go to a link, you can put in your email, and it'll send you some reminders so that you get an opportunity to go back and watch it, even if you watch it in pieces. It's movealluniversity.com/masterclass. I would invite you, go check it out. And again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them. I'm curious to hear what you think of the world according to me. Okay? All right? Have a great day. See ya.